We're on a road to nowhere. Come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. I'm feeling okay this morning. And you know, we're on the road to paradise. Here we go, here we go. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. Would you like to come along, and you can help me sing this song, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day. It's alright, baby, it's alright. They could tell you what to do, but they'll make a fool of you, and it's alright, baby, it's alright.
Hello, and I see Coming John already. Thank you, John. You're always first, and I love it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. One of our guests is either late or not coming. I'm not sure. I'm gonna razz him regardless. But I very rarely ever have anyone from Pennsylvania on the show, so this is exciting. Rabbi Michael, we have met many times throughout probably 6 years maybe since Bernie's first campaign. And you are part of March on Harrisburg, which was the first thing I met you guys through. So why don't you introduce yourself and then also talk about March on Harrisburg and how that started, and then we can go into more current.
Sure. Thank you for having me on, and good to be here. And March on Harrisburg started about, I guess, 6 years ago or so. And the idea was we want to get money out of politics. The way our society is structured is, you need to raise money to run for public office. To raise money, you have to go to people who have money, rich people, and rich people tend to want things in return for that campaign money. Things like keeping the taxes low on themselves and high on everybody else, things like letting them run the economy and pollute and oppress, workers here and there. So we wanted to outlaw the money in politics. We wanted to kind of sever that connection between the ruling class and elected officials. And aim for something closer to a democracy, a government of, by, and for the people, instead of a government of, by, and for special interests. So that's kind of, the guiding way of thinking, and that kind of led to March on Harrisburg. And we've been around for 6 years, and we started with this idea of getting money out of politics and of kind of combining our three core tactics. One of them being long distance marches. A lot of us met in April 2016 on Democracy Spring, which was a 140-mile march from Philly to Harrisburg, and then that organization kind of fell apart. But we took that tactic of the long distance march. We took the tactic of nonviolent direct action, which is something we do quite regularly and is quite effective. And then the tactic of lobbying. We basically looked at how corporations do it, looked at how the ruling class does it, and kind of took that model. And we write our own anti-corruption bills. We are in the building constantly, talking with legislators, and we're vastly outnumbered by the corporate lobbyists, of course. It's not even close. But we try to be the anti-lobbyist lobbyists in the building. And like they really hate us. We can talk more about that if you want. But
yeah, they all know what we look like. Like when we show up, they're like, "Oh shit."
there was one rep who was calling, was talking to somebody else in the elevator last Monday, and was just talking about our people and just saying they're so disgusting. They're just so disgusting. I was like, yeah, we know what they think. And we also were quite disgusting because we had just marched 33 miles from York to Harrisburg with, I think, one shower that Friday night for everybody. So we did have a stench. So that's fair. Yeah.
It's so incredible. It's not disgusting to take dirty money. It's disgusting to fight to help people. That's the atrocious part. Wow. Yeah, it's incredible. Like Pennsylvania is so corrupt. And I know all states are corrupt, but Pennsylvania, oh my gosh, it's astounding when you read articles and stuff. What are some of the things that have stood out to you as far as, even not necessarily statistics or percentages, but things you've noticed about PA that really, that you want to focus on primarily?
Absolutely. And I just see Jenna's comment here, name names. So I'll just start telling stories of people. Here we go.
She's in PA, so she's like, yeah.
So we have this thing that's legal in Pennsylvania for our full-time legislators called side jobs, which is just an absurd thing. So, just to start off, our legislators are, there's 253 of them. They have a starting salary that's about to go over $100,000 next year. Great benefits, a state car, healthcare, an incredible pension, a great sized office staff that helps them a lot. And they also have a per diem of about $170 a day. So, it's a great job. It's a really well-paying job, especially relative to what most people make. And they can also have side jobs. So, for example, the chair of our Senate Environmental Committee, Gene Yaw, is a well-paid state senator, and he's also a practicing attorney for gas companies. So he's in charge of both environmental law and he represents gas companies. So, pretty corrupt there, pretty blatant. Other side jobs, the Senate President, Jake Corman, he's also on the board of Old Dominion Bank. So he's both in charge of the budget every year and is a Wall Street banker. So it's pretty ludicrous, the conflicts of interest. Some other corruptions in PA, we have unlimited gifts, and you can give any gift to any legislator. So you can walk into the Senate president's office with a brand new car, and that's completely legal, completely okay. I mean that's just it's just so absurd. So to name some names on that front. Jordan Harris, the minority whip, and I just want to take a step back. These are all very bipartisan, nonpartisan things. Money and power can corrupt anybody and everybody. We've all seen Lord of the Rings. It's just a giant metaphor for this. The money and the power crosses party lines. Anyway, so the number 2 Democrat in the House, he reports a couple $1,000s from gentlemen's clubs in Philadelphia. There's the former Speaker of the House, Mike Turzai. He used to report private jet flights. There's trips to the Bahamas, trips to Pebble Beach. They go to the Super Bowl, Penn State games, everything. Yeah, it's absurd. Yeah.
So these are things that are written off as gifts.
Oh yeah. They're called gifts, which is just a fancy word of saying bribe. And the lobbying law itself in Pennsylvania says that lobbying includes giving any gift for the purpose of advancing the interests of the principal and the lobbyist. So giving a politician a gift for the purpose of advancing your interest is bribery, and then that's just the law. That's what it is.
So where do you find out this information?
Oh, you just kind of start hearing about things, and then the deeper you dive in, the more you learn. You start to. It's another reason why we lobby so much. You know, why we have people in the building. And by the way, we don't. I just want to stress we don't have paid lobbyists or anything. We don't send suits in. We don't
Right.
hire mercenaries. We're talking about normal people going into the building as volunteers and having these conversations. You learn a lot because when you start bringing up these subjects, you realize they don't talk about them much. It's a system that they all live in, the politicians, but it's not something that they talk about. They don't like to talk about it. And a lot of them don't know specifically what some of their colleagues are doing. The kind of the higher up you go in the hierarchy, the more corrupt it gets. But you learn things from talking to them and sticking with the news, the media, especially the local media, the state and city based media. They do cover ethics issues because they're so blatant. But we're constantly learning new things. Just last week I learned of a new way that party leadership kind of holds the rank and file in check by what they'll do is when the lobbyist representing a big corporation comes in to talk about campaign contributions, the leadership will just say, give to that one, give to that one, don't give to that one, don't give to that one, don't give to that one, give to that one. And so legislators, not even being aware, just had a couple thousand steered away from them or steered toward them, often as a reward or a punishment for something else they did. So we're constantly learning how the money flows. Somebody wrote here, should be protests outside of these folks' homes. We've been to Kerry Benninghoff, the House Majority Leader's house, at 5:30 a.m. With coffee, with a table with coffee and donuts. We went to Governor Wolf's house 3 times now over the years. We've been to Speaker Turzai's house. He had 6 grandmothers arrested on his front yard. That wasn't very nice. We also, my favorite place we've ever been was Senator Corman's golf course. That was a fun one. He did not much care for that. He stayed in the clubhouse and never came out.
That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, I protested Speaker Pelosi's 25th house in DC last month, and it felt so good. It's really we're not giving you any solace. You work for us, so we know where you live. That's what we're doing. You guys are not strangers to arrest, especially Kyle. My gosh. I mean, people in your group are always getting arrested. And it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to show, let me see. It'll take me a moment to do this. But I want to show your, the clip that I saw of you, I believe it was last week. Where you are with, looks like a banquet, perhaps. So do you want to set us up what it was?
Yeah, absolutely. First, actually, I'm just going to, Jenna in the chat, Turzai is out by you, Western Pennsylvania and Allegheny County, but he actually resigned 2 years ago abruptly so that he could become a lobbyist and go privatize municipal water supplies, which is something he was also working on as speaker, because his side job when he was Speaker of the House was as a corporate attorney. I mean, the guy's he's the devil. He's a crook through and through, and he has a very super villainy line of work nowadays, as he frankly always has. But the clip, I think what you're referring to here is. We disrupted the majority leader's breakfast fundraiser this year, and it was a fun time. He had broken his second promise to us that week, and we decided that we were going to go after him before they left town, because they take 6 weeks off after mid-February because they only work 15 weeks out of the year, even though they're a full-time legislature. Oh, well, and their work weeks are only 3 days long. They work 40 hours a year.
And they don't even have attendance issues. Like, when you look at people, Congress and Senate, how many times they vote, it's like they aren't even held to attendance guidelines. It's truly astounding. Can you see this? Can you see my Twitter?
Oh yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right, you guys. So this is Rabbi Michael holding it down. Let's see. Is it going to let me play? Please let me play this. Here we go.
Yeah, when we came. Oh, yeah.
Pennsylvania is currently legal for private legislators. Lobbyists can give their legislators anything. And we wonder why nothing changes. And we wonder why one in 8 kids in this state is in deep poverty. It's a mess to get that. That has nothing to do with this event. It absolutely does.
Like, who does that? I don't know if you guys heard, but when Rabbi Michael was talking, he was like, "Why don't you shut the fuck up?" Like, oh my God. I don't know why it surprises me. I really don't. It's just, what did you think the reaction was going to be? Did you think it was going to be that bad?
Oh God, I get yelled at a lot. I was not surprised by that at all. When you go after corrupt people, the empire strikes back. It always has, it always will, and yeah, I mean that's, so we went in that morning with the goal of trying to get Benninghoff to make us a third promise. That was the idea. And we came in, saw him. We were there, we were there on time. Everyone else was late to the breakfast fundraiser. And we cornered him pretty quickly and tried to get a promise out of him. He just kept backing away, and he ended up just hiding behind the buffet table for the rest of the event. We definitely ruined his morning.
So you guys weren't like kicked out or anything?
So luckily is probably the wrong word to use here. Coincidentally, there happened to be a murder in Harrisburg that morning, and so all the police were over there, and it was just the Hilton security, which they weren't that tough. They weren't going to move us.
Wow.
And we bring a few Teamsters with us too, just to kind of make it harder to move us. And so we were there for a while. We left after maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. I forget. And then we left a team behind to bird dog him on his way to the Capitol. And we sent a team into the Capitol to wait in his office. And yeah, it's a good day.
So I'm just amazed that they even let you guys in there. Like, they have no, like, security, like, no guest list.
I mean, they have a list. They have somebody sitting at a table with a clipboard, but you just walk past and look like you know where you're going, and just get there. You get to your spot. That's the goal. And then the Hilton security comes out, and we then, I think a couple weeks after that, disrupted the press club event where he was the main speaker at the Hilton again, and it was just as easy. No arrests either. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he really doesn't like us. He very much doesn't. He officially barred us from his Capitol office in April or May. So then we, at that point, he not only barred us from his office, he changed up the whole office furniture layout to avoid us. He took 2 chairs out of his office because we just kept sending 4 people into his office, and they just hang out for hours on end, just all day, 6-hour stretches.
Oh my God.
He got tired of that because we started chatting up the lobbyists who were coming in and out. And that was starting to look bad for him. So he didn't like that. So he banned us, and then we decided to go around him and try to bypass him, which was our last campaign. And we didn't succeed in kind of launching this legislative coup to bypass the majority leader, but it was a lot of fun, and we caused a panic. Yeah.
Wow, that's freaking badass. And you have been able to meet with actual elected reps as well, right?
Oh yeah, we've had thousands of meetings with hundreds of them, and yeah, you gotta you gotta tell them why you're protesting first of all. It's or else they set their own narrative, and their own narrative is, well, these people don't know what they're talking about, or they don't have a message, or whatever it is. Any reason to ignore. But if you go and sit with them and explain the issues and make sure that they do know, it helps you organize your champions, and then it also it helps move things along. So we've moved the gift ban bill out of the House committee that it's in twice, which but we've never been able to get a full House vote. But there have been 33 gift ban bills in the last 21 years, and only 2 have moved out of committee, and that's the last 2 sessions.
Wow.
It's
incredible. And a lot of people, I find that when it comes to money in politics, it's very much centered around Citizens United. I don't think that people truly comprehend that there are things outside of that scope. Can you kind of touch a little more on that, like the different kinds of bribery?
Absolutely. It's yeah, and a great question, because yeah, it isn't just about Citizens United and what that made possible. Citizens United affects the dark money and the super PACs, but there's so much more than that. So I should say there's different flavors of corruption across the country. It looks differently in different municipalities and different states and Congress. There's kind of the different ecosystems that all rhyme with each other. They all have similar patterns, but the exact methods can vary. So in Pennsylvania, our big things are campaign contributions, which are that's usually a big thing in most places. We have no limits. So anybody can write a $1 billion check to their favorite state candidate, and basically own them. There's a billionaire in Pennsylvania named Jeffrey Yass, and that's what he does. He tosses out tens of millions of dollars here and there, and gets a lot of people responsive to him. And dependent on him. Again, when you have to raise campaign money, you have to go to people who have money, and people who have money have tend to have a similar ideology, and you find yourself happening to agree with them in order to get the funding. Another thing in PA is we have a huge side jobs problem. We've already talked about that a little bit, but a good way to funnel cash to a legislator is to just hire them. Make them an employee, and then you get to pay them wages. Another thing, by the way, in Congress they have an insider trading problem more so.
Right.
We're not quite sure the scope of that in Harrisburg. It seems like that's a thing, but we can't really speak to that with too much confidence yet, because that's also very hidden, much more hidden in Harrisburg than it is in Congress. But we also have a revolving door problem, constantly, and it's not just the legislators; it's also the top staffers are constantly spinning through the revolving door. We have a new lobbying firm that just opened up in Harrisburg, and it is the former chief of staff of the Republican Senate president, the former chief of staff of the Democratic governor, and the head of the Chamber of Commerce are joining forces. So it's just everybody spins through the revolving door. Our former acting health secretary in the governor's office is now the top lobbyist for UPMC, which is the giant healthcare corporation that closes down rural hospitals and leaves people on the street to die. And then yeah, so we have a revolving door problem. We have a dark money problem, and Citizens United affects that. And that's just that money can show up from anywhere anonymously in unlimited amounts and say whatever it wants to say. So that usually is the mailers that come in the day before the election that say so and so is a blank terrible thing, or the TV ads. The big money things that don't require any people at all are usually dark money expenditures. And so there's just so many ways that money comes in and controls the agenda. It controls what happens in the Capitol, and it leans toward the green. It follows the golden rule of the guy with the gold makes the rules. That's our system, and so our goal is to break it, because if we don't suffering continues and we die. So.
Wow, that is daunting. I just thought of this when you were talking. A couple years ago, I remember I've protested Wolf and Fetterman and such. Most of the time it's been for environmental issues. And I remember a few years ago, Wolf's wife was under investigation for some shady oil donations. Did you hear about that?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'll have to look. Jenna, you might know too. It was a few years ago. But yeah, I mean, as something that I find when I'm talking about corruption is a lot of people think it's a bipartisan issue. A lot of people are like, they have selective outrage. They're like, yes, Republicans are corrupt. Do you find that people say that? And also, do you find that you kind of have to convince people that the Dems are just as corrupt?
Yeah, I mean, people get tribal politically all the time, absolutely. And the truth of it, it's pretty plain. It's that corruption affects everybody, regardless of party. The only thing that seems to affect it is kind of how high you are in the hierarchy. If you're school board members tend to be less corrupted than members of Congress. The higher you go up, the more power you amass, the more corrupt you tend to be. Just to get there, because to be governor costs tens of millions of dollars. To be a U.S. senator costs tens of millions to hundreds of millions. To be U.S. president costs billions, and that price tag means a lot of strings being pulled and connections being made that shouldn't be. So it absolutely is bipartisan. So last Monday we did this thing where we tried to force a vote on the House floor on the gift ban, and both parties killed it. I mean, we saw both parties, in the shadows, just knives out, kill the effort, kill the bill, intimidate and bully everybody, and it was absurd. I mean, it was really sad to see, and Democratic leadership was telling their members all sorts of lies about the bill. I mean, they were misinforming their own members about it. They were saying things that were really absurd and strange. I mean, things we hadn't even heard before. They, because they were really panicking. They had a off-site, no staff, no cell phones meeting that Monday morning, which is a sign of panic and a sign that they're going to have a conversation that they don't want any reporters listening in on in the caucus room, because those walls are paper thin. So they went to their campaign headquarters to have these talks, and they bullied, they intimidated, they really tried to kill the effort, and they succeeded. They did it. But yeah, there's so many, just to get into a leadership position in the state legislature costs money. You have to raise a certain amount of money so that you can give it to the party and to your colleagues so that they can run their campaigns. And so, who has the money? Again, it's the lobbyists and the rich people that they represent. So you basically have to work in the comfort zone of whoever the people selected by the lobbyists are. So they run the place, and that's what we're up against. And we've been able to do a lot with the movement we have, but we're dedicated to base building and growing the movement, because we've done a lot with 100, 200, max people, but with a couple thousand we can we can take hallways, we can take offices, we can't yet take the building.
That's amazing, though, because I think so many people, it's easy to be, defeatist and think, they're stronger than us. But you guys know, and I know through my activism, they're scared of us.
Oh, yeah.
They are scared of us. And, this is an example of, what accountability does. If you hold people accountable, that's how change happens. Just letting things happen. They have no reason to change. So what are some of the kind of on a more humorous note, what are some of the things that some of these reps have done that just show how nervous or paranoid they are to meet with you guys?
Yeah, last Monday, I think we definitely saw more Capitol Police than legislators. That they cleared out. I mean, they hide, they run. Um, it's incredible. So the police are on us every time we're in the building right away. They are watching us. They send out half the force just to be there, just in case something happens. And every legislator gets a text message that says, avoid the area. March on Harrisburg is going to be here and here
Oh
and
my
here.
gosh.
And it's nuts. They hide. So they went into the House floor that Monday through their back entrance, through their secret entrance that we don't have access to, because they wanted to avoid us at the entrance to the House floor. Also, the lobbyists all clear out too, which is really funny when they disappear, because we take their space. They don't want to be around us, so they go.
And they know you guys are 100% nonviolent.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's what it's so important to stress to people. They are scared of your words. They are
oh yeah,
scared of your truth. That's
absolutely.
powerful.
Oh yeah, they hide, so they left the House floor through their back entrance. Then when they went back again through their back entrance. They hid from us all day, and that's not abnormal. That's usually what happens when they think we're there for action. When we're there, just to talk and do the lobbying thing and all that. A lot of them will still hide. They'll walk the other way in the hallways. It's like I'm being in a middle school where everyone hates you. It's kind of like that sometimes. There's 20 or 30 cool kids, but other than that, everyone just hates you.
Right.
And that's kind of the feel there. They have contempt for us, because we don't stop pushing them on these core issues that they can't defend. There's nothing for them to say. I mean, what can you say when somebody says, "Hey, I think that trip to the Bahamas influenced, how you're governing"? It's pretty clear, of
Well,
course.
you can say, why don't you shut the fuck up?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the ideal response.
You say, "We don't talk about this around here." That's
Yeah.
you get that one.
Okay, well, give me a time and day and a place, and we'll talk about it then. Oh, you're not going to? Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah,
we're just gonna
like,
shut down your
have
office
you?
and canvass your district.
Yeah. Has Wolf ever met with you guys?
Yes, I met with Wolf once outside of his house. And then I met with his chief of staff, and then with a bunch of his staffers a bunch of times. Yeah. The meeting outside of his house was that was a more of a poor people's campaign thing. So March on Harrisburg, we're part of the poor people's campaign. So we're always helping our allies on their different fronts of struggle. So that was for general assistance, which used to be a program in Pennsylvania. Basically a welfare program, cost about $20 million a year for the most desperate Pennsylvanians. It was a good thing and a good program. And it got cut. I think this was 2019 or so, maybe 2018, 2019. And so we started with Fetterman, trying to get him to get Wolf on board to just veto the cut. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. The GOP legislature was dead set on doing it, but the governor has a veto, and he uses it all the time, and we expected him to use it this time. We went to his house, and we set up like we had a plan, and we usually do have a plan. This was really the only time one of two times where we didn't have a plan. We did not have an exit strategy, but we just went in with a bunch of tents and beach umbrellas and sleeping bags and made it look like we were going to camp out forever. This was like maybe late June or so. And around 5:30, it started to get really cloudy and rain was coming, and there were tornado warnings in the area. And we did not have an exit strategy. Can't stress that enough. We had no plan in this one, which is not a good place to be. But he came out, and I think he came out to get us to go away because he knew there were tornadoes coming through, and it would look bad if a bunch of people got blown away on his front step, and the best we were able to get out of him was when the speaker gave him a budget with no general assistance in it that Monday, which is what was going to happen, what did happen, that he would say to the speaker, "No, I can't do this," and send it back and try again. So no guarantee that he would actually veto it, but all we got was a guarantee that he would try harder, try again. And then, exactly what happened the next week was he said no to the first offer and then basically said yes to the same offer.
Right.
And general assistance got cut. And yeah, that was Wolf's house. That was one time, the only time he's ever come out.
Yeah, I remember Casey. I've had it out with him. He voted against Bernard's lowering of prescription costs, his legislation for that, and Casey voted against it. And he takes tons of money from pharmaceutical companies. So I got a petition. I had everyone hand sign it. I went to his office and I legit dumped all these pill bottles from me and all my comrades on his desk. And I was like, here you go. Now, and I was just like, look, let me just share. This is what you're denying right here. And the next time he signed on to it. But I was like, it's all about accountability. Like these, I've interviewed Fetterman. I've met him a bunch of times. I will not be voting for him. I think he's absolutely awful. And, he ran with Wolf. So even if he doesn't take the money, Wolf does. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, we see this all over where even if you don't, but you align with someone who does, it's your responsibility to say, hey, don't do that. And if you don't, then you're just as complicit and you're perpetuating the cycle of everything that's going on right now. Have you ever gotten to meet with Casey?
No, we've never met with federal people. We work at the state level, so never met with him or Toomey or that was Scanlon one time, just because I just got invited along by some Medicare for All folks, and nothing eventful. It was a really bad meeting of 15 minutes with 7 people all trying to say 2 sentences, and those meetings are not good. I don't know why groups do that. You shouldn't go in with 7 speakers. You go in with 1 or 2 people who talk. And
oh my God, yes.
You don't just kind of say statements at the person you engage. It's a weird thing that advocacy groups just kind of do. I don't get it. While we're on the subject of weird things that advocacy groups do, if I may, limit themselves and their people to only talking to politicians who are on their ballot, where they're constituents of.
Absolutely.
Exxon lobbyists don't do that crap. They go into every single office. Comcast lobbyists go everywhere. It's a strange taboo that you can only talk to people you can vote for, even if other people are on the committee where your bill is. Or other people
Absolutely.
matter.
I've found that being a national March for Medicare for All organizer, we've hit up every single rep on the Progressive Caucus. We did go to DC and met with Congressman Ro Khanna. We met with Rashida Tlaib. We met with the legislative assistant of Pramila Jayapal. But yeah, there were 3 of us. That's it. Like, we have a huge group and we're like, nope, it's me and 2 other people. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The other people are very much, if you're not in our district, sorry. So the key is try to find people that you're comrades with, that you align with, who are in that district to get that meeting. This is, oh my God, this is so infuriating. And it should be. If it's not, that's a problem. What websites or documentation do you utilize so you have tangibles of what, who's taking what money?
Oh, yeah, oh God, I wish it was easier. We actually have a presentation on how to research your legislators.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just gonna, our system isn't great in PA. It's not as transparent as it should be. So, first, the easiest is the campaign contributions. That has the most transparency around it. Followthemoney.org is a good place to go looking for that. Uh, we don't have transparency around campaign spending, so that's much harder to find out. Our candidates all the time will use campaign money on whatever. Our old Senate president went on a European wine tasting tour with campaign money, so it's kind of a crapshoot where it's going. Then our legislators fill out statement of financial interest forms every year, and those are available on the state website. If you just search statement of
Oh,
financial interest form and name a legislator, it'll come right up. And those are PDFs that you can't just kind of control F. There's no searchable database for the information there. But you can see in there the side jobs that they have, any large investments that they have, without numbers or most details, but just kind of the name of it. And then you can see a lot of gifts that people take too through that. But the transparency around a lot of these things is really, really broken. For example, for the gifts, legislators report receiving about $40,000 a year in gifts, and lobbyists report giving them about $1.5 million a year in gifts. And we know that 1.5 million is a pretty big undercount too. So we really have no idea. The only things that are itemized are that 40,000 that they report, what the lobbyists report giving. We don't know who they give to or what. And again, that's an undercount. So it's really hard to know what exactly is happening. But it's pretty clear to see what's happening at the same time.
oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. No, it's a
Wow.
wholly owned subsidiary. I mean, the state legislature is, and Congress is the same way, and most city and county councils are similar. It does the business of big business. It works for the moneyed interests, and that's their job. That's what they do. Everything else is window dressing. It's sideshows.
Absolutely. You guys are so amazing. You're just awesome. And it's so great to see people in the streets, people doing things. It's very frustrating as an organizer to see just how many people are feeling kind of apathetic or just like online activists, like Slacktivists, and how little energy there has been lately. I think since Byrne dropped the last time, I think it's just been like a downward spiral, unfortunately. What do you think that we can do as organizers and activists to invigorate people to join us and start getting out and getting active?
Yeah, it's about meeting people where they are. I mean, outreach and the slow, painful work of organizing. I mean, I know no other answer than to just keep going and meeting people. And one thing that we're trying to get better at as March on Harrisburg is first of all just being out there in the world and setting up tables, flyering and canvassing. And then also having leadership development tracks, having formalized courses that we can kind of take people through where they'll be much more engaged and kind of develop into, leaders who are clear, competent, committed, and connected. And then, so the leadership development side of things is hugely important. And we need to continue down that road, and we've seen success there already. Back to the organizing front, the outreach front, the best way to do it, and March on Harrisburg is not, we're not nailing this by any means, but the best way to do it that I'm aware of is the projects of survival method. So you kind of go and provide a service, provide something in the community that brings people in. And then once they're there for that necessary service, you radicalize them, you turn it into the leadership development track. And there's a group in Pennsylvania who I think does this very well, Put People First PA, which is a healthcare rights group
I
here.
was going to ask you afterwards if you had connections to anyone, actually.
Oh, absolutely. We're with them on the Poor People's Campaign, and they have a brilliant project of survival that they've been doing for a few months now, maybe almost a year probably, where they go and they set up at free clinics, at any dental clinic, at any free health clinic, anywhere where healthcare is being offered, and poor people who don't have access to healthcare are there to get it. And they set up and they help people with their benefits, with their paperwork, with dealing with the bureaucracy of both the government and the private health insurance industry. They have people who are, they've trained their own people. It's low cost. It's easy to do. You're not actually handing out, buying food and handing it out or something like that. And it's super necessary. And it's, when people are dealing with the bureaucracy of the terrible healthcare system, is when they're generally most frustrated and ready to be radicalized. So that's a great recruiting tool. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I cannot thank you enough for joining me. You're amazing. And I thank you so much for all your work. Where can people find you and also learn more about your actions?
Absolutely. Please go to our website, sign up, especially if you're in Pennsylvania, but also if you're not, again, the Exxon lobbyists, they'll come up from DC sometimes to Harrisburg. That's when they really are in trouble. So, we appreciate any support from all over. And our website, mohpa.org, marchonharrisburg.org. We have so many domain names, and I think they all go to the same page. Giftban.org. You can use majorityagainstcorruption.org. MOHPA is the main one. mohpa.org. We're also on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and probably something else as well that I'm forgetting. But we usually go by End PA Corruption on most social media sites. So find us, and yeah, come on out. And if you plug in through the website, please jump into our Slack if you want to be involved. That's kind of our internal messaging platform. We always put things up on the calendar on the website, and just join a chapter, join a working group, and get moving, because there is so much more work than than is getting done. There's an infinite amount of work in trying to organize a pro-democracy, revolution. I mean, there's no shortage of work, so please jump in.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tomorrow night, and smash the like button, hit subscribe. Tomorrow night, I have a gentleman in the UK, Oliver Dodd. He is a journalist who writes about imperialism, so we'll be having all kinds of interesting discussions about that. And two updates. First one being that the legislation I proposed in DC with my two comrades about the canceling of medical debt is almost finished. Ro is working on it with Bernie, and keeping us updated. So I'm really excited. That's the power of activists, like 3 volunteer activists. We went to DC, met with Ro, and now a bill is being finished for medical debt cancellation. Will it pass? I don't know, but it'll get people talking about it, and it shows the power of holding people accountable. So it's very exciting. I just talked to Ro last night. Another update, if you have a submission, and Rabbi Michael, you may know people, and this is also why I want to speak with someone from Put People First, PA. Myself and my group, March for Medicare for All, we have been working with human rights lawyers for over a year, and we are, in a month, we have completed compiling an official complaint to the United Nations. We are going to New York to present them with the human rights violation of leaving millions of people uninsured. or without healthcare, especially during a pandemic. So we're taking it to the Human Rights Council at United Nations. And we are requesting people send in videos of their testimonials, healthcare stories about, the lack of monetary means or denial or loss of a job, meaning loss of insurance, medical bankruptcy, anything like that. We are trying to get 100 videos to submit with our complaint. We have 2 more weeks. So please go to our website, m4m4all.org, and submit your stories, because this shit's making history. So you definitely want to join. So those are those updates. I will have Comrade Misty on next week. We're going to talk about Assange and the action coming up. And I think that's it for now. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much, Rabbi Michael, and stay tuned. I'll speak with you when we're up there. But thanks again, guys, and tune in tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Much love.